I was watching my 8-year-old daughter Emma chase my 6-year-old son Jake around our backyard when Dad called. His voice bubbled with excitement about the family's New Year trip to Aspen, some luxury ski resort he'd booked. My heart lifted as he listed who was coming: my brother Tyler's family, including his 2 kids and wife Sarah. Then came the crushing blow that shattered everything. "Sorry, Evan, but we can't include Emma and Jake. The resort's too expensive for 6 extra people." Silence stretched between us as my children's laughter echoed mockingly in my ears. The phone felt like lead in my hand as Dad's words echoed in my mind. Too expensive for 6 extra people. I watched Emma help Jake climb the old oak tree we'd planted when she was born. Their innocent giggles a sharp contrast to the poison coursing through my veins. This wasn't about money. This was about choice. I'd always been the disappointment in Dad's eyes, the son who chose teaching over law, who married young and divorced amicably, instead of maintaining the perfect family image Tyler projected. Growing up, Tyler got the praise for his straight A report cards, while my B+ average earned lectures about applying myself. When Tyler made varsity football, Dad attended every game with a cooler full of Gatorade. When I made the debate team, Dad was too busy with work to watch me compete at regionals. The pattern had continued into adulthood. Tyler's promotion to regional manager at the insurance company became dinner conversation for months. My promotion to head of the English department at Roosevelt High School got a polite congratulations and an immediate subject change to Tyler's latest golf handicap improvement. But this was different. This involved my children. I called Jessica, my ex-wife, knowing she'd be picking up our kids in 2 hours for her weekend. Despite our divorce 3 years ago, we'd maintained a solid friendship built on mutual respect and shared love for Emma and Jake. She answered on the second ring, her voice warm with the easy familiarity of someone who knew me better than anyone. "Hey, Evan, how was your day? Emma told me you're helping her with her science project about volcanic eruptions." "Jess, we need to talk about something. Dad just called about the New Year family trip to Aspen." Her tone shifted immediately. Jessica had witnessed enough family gatherings to recognize the warning signs of Dad's favoritism. "Let me guess. Golden boy Tyler's family gets the royal treatment, while Emma and Jake get left behind. He said the resort's too expensive for 6 extra people. But Jess, Tyler's bringing his whole family." The silence stretched for 10 seconds before Jessica exploded. "Are you kidding me right now, Evan? This is exactly what happened at Tyler's wedding when they had a kids' table that somehow only seated Emma and Jake, while Madison and Austin got to sit with the adults. And last Christmas, when Dad bought Tyler's kids those expensive bikes, while Emma and Jake got books from the discount bin." I hadn't realized Jessica had been keeping track of these slights. Her words hit like physical blows because each example was undeniably true. "I know you want to keep the peace, but this has gone too far. Your children deserve better than being treated like second-class grandchildren." After hanging up, I found myself scrolling through Tyler's social media, something I rarely did. What I discovered made my stomach turn. Tyler had posted a story 2 hours ago with the caption, "Dad's amazing surprise. Grateful for his generosity, making our family ski trip possible." The post showed airplane tickets, hotel confirmation emails, and even a booking for professional ski lessons for Madison and Austin. Dad wasn't just excluding my children. He was actively paying for everything for Tyler's family while claiming my kids were too expensive to include. The math didn't add up unless you factored in deliberate favoritism. I sent Dad a text message, my fingers shaking as I typed, "Saw Tyler's post about you covering his family's entire trip. If you can afford Tyler's airfare and hotel, you can afford Emma and Jake's. This isn't about money." His response came within minutes. "Tyler's children are older and more manageable. Emma and Jake would slow everyone down on the slopes. This is about practicality, not favoritism." I stared at that message for a long time. Emma was 8, Jake was 6, Madison was 10, Austin was 9. The age difference he was claiming as justification was minimal at best. But more than that, his response revealed the ugly truth he'd been hiding behind polite excuses for years. My children in his eyes were lesser. They were burdens. They were obstacles to his perfect family vacation, with his perfect son and perfect grandchildren. I walked outside where Emma and Jake were now collecting autumn leaves for what Jake called his treasure box, a shoebox, where he kept every interesting thing he found in our yard. Emma was patiently helping him identify different types of oak and maple leaves, her voice gentle and encouraging as she praised his discoveries. These were the children Dad considered too much trouble to include in a family vacation. I made a decision that would change everything. That evening after Jessica picked up the kids for her weekend, I sat alone in my living room staring at family photos scattered across the coffee table. Each picture told a story of systematic exclusion I'd been too naive or too hopeful to recognize. Christmas morning 2 years ago, Tyler's kids unwrapping elaborate gifts from Dad, while Emma and Jake received generic books and clearance toys. I'd attributed it to budget constraints making excuses in my mind about Dad being on a fixed retirement income. Emma's 7th birthday party, Dad arrived an hour late, stayed 30 minutes, and left early claiming he had to help Tyler move furniture. Tyler later posted pictures from a golf outing that same afternoon. Jake's kindergarten graduation. Dad missed it entirely for Austin's Little League game, even though Jake had been talking about his graduation speech for weeks. The evidence had been building for years, but I'd rationalized every slight, convinced myself I was being oversensitive, chosen to believe Dad's explanations rather than confront the painful reality of his favoritism. My phone buzzed with a text from Jessica. Found something you need to see. Can I come by after I drop the kids at school Monday? Monday morning arrived gray and cold, matching my mood perfectly. Jessica knocked on my door at 8:30, holding a manila folder thick with papers and photographs. I started keeping this after Emma's 5th birthday party, she said, settling onto my couch and opening the folder. I told myself I was being paranoid, that maybe I was seeing things that weren't there because of our divorce. But Evan, look at this. She spread photographs across my coffee table like evidence in a courtroom. Family barbecues where Tyler's children sat next to Dad while Emma and Jake played alone in the background. Holiday dinners where Madison and Austin received Dad's undivided attention while my kids sat forgotten at the far end of the table. This one's from last Thanksgiving, Jessica said, pointing to a picture I didn't remember her taking. Tyler's family clustered around Dad in the living room, everyone laughing at one of his stories. In the corner of the frame, barely visible, Emma and Jake sat by themselves at the children's table picking at their food while the adults celebrated 20 feet away. And this, she continued, producing a notebook filled with her handwriting. Every family gathering for the past 3 years, every interaction between Dad and the kids. I documented everything because I knew someday you'd need to see the pattern. The notebook entries were devastating in their clinical precision. December 25th, Christmas dinner. Dad spent 45 minutes showing Madison how to play chess. Jake asked to learn too. Dad said maybe later. Later never came. March 15th, Emma's dance recital. Dad said he had to work. Saw him at Austin's baseball game the same day via Tyler's Instagram story. June 8th, family barbecue. Dad gave Austin a $20 bill for getting good grades. Emma got straight A's on her report card the same week. No acknowledgement. Page after page of documented favoritism, a systematic pattern of emotional neglect that had been poisoning my children's relationship with their grandfather for years. Why didn't you show me this sooner? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Because I kept hoping he'd change. Because I knew it would destroy you to see it all laid out like this. Because part of me wondered if I was imagining things because I never liked how your family treated you, even when we were married. Jessica's honesty hit like a physical blow. She'd been protecting me from a truth I wasn't ready to face, watching my children suffer in silence, while I made excuses for Dad's behavior. There's more, she said softly. The kids have been asking me questions I didn't know how to answer. My heart stopped. What kind of questions? Emma asked me last month why Grandpa never wants to play with her like he plays with Madison. Jake wanted to know if he did something wrong to make Grandpa not like him. Evan, they're starting to internalize his rejection. They think it's their fault. The room spun as Jessica's words sank in. My children, my innocent, loving, wonderful children were blaming themselves for their grandfather's cruelty. They were developing the same wounds I'd carried my entire life, the same sense of never being good enough, never measuring up to Tyler's perfect family. That afternoon, Dad called. I let it ring 4 times before answering, dreading whatever justification he'd offer for his Aspen announcement. Evan, I need you to stop sending me accusatory text messages. Your mother is upset about the drama you're creating over a simple vacation. Drama I'm creating? Yes, drama. This trip is about family bonding and making memories. Emma and Jake are too young to appreciate skiing, and frankly, managing 4 children instead of 2 would turn a relaxing vacation into a chaotic nightmare. His casual dismissal of my children as inconveniences rather than beloved grandchildren ignited something primal in me. Dad, do you hear yourself right now? You're talking about your grandchildren like they're burdens? I'm being practical. Tyler's children are more mature, better behaved, and won't need constant supervision. This isn't personal, Evan. It's logistics. Logistics. He'd reduced my children's worth to a logistical calculation. When did you become someone who ranks grandchildren by convenience level? Don't be dramatic. Emma and Jake will have other opportunities to travel with the family when they're older. But I knew better. There would always be excuses. They'd be too young then, too difficult. Then, too different from Tyler's perfect children. The opportunities would never come, because Dad had already decided my children didn't merit the same investment of time, money, and love he freely gave to Tyler's family. I hung up without saying goodbye, my hands trembling with rage and heartbreak. Jessica was right. This pattern had to stop, and it had to stop now. My children deserved better than a grandfather who saw them as afterthoughts in his grand family narrative. They deserved to feel loved, valued, and worthy of the same attention and resources freely given to their cousins. I opened my laptop and began researching New Year vacation destinations, not because I wanted revenge, but because I wanted my children to know their worth. If Dad couldn't see their value, I'd show them just how precious they truly were. When Emma and Jake returned from Jessica's house Sunday evening, they bounded through the front door with the unstoppable energy only children possess after a weekend of adventure. Emma wore a new friendship bracelet Jessica had helped her make, while Jake clutched a Pokemon card he'd been hunting for weeks. Daddy, look what Mom found at the card shop. Jake thrust the holographic Charizard toward me with reverence typically reserved for religious artifacts. It's super rare and powerful, and Mom said you'd want to see it first before I put it in my special binder. Emma flopped onto the couch beside me, immediately launching into a detailed recap of their weekend activities. We went to the Children's Museum, and there was this huge exhibit about ancient Egypt, and I learned that mummies aren't scary. They're just people who lived a really long time ago and wanted to be remembered forever. Their innocent enthusiasm made what I had to tell them infinitely harder. How do you explain to children that their grandfather considers them unworthy of inclusion in family celebrations? How do you protect their hearts from the cruel reality of adult favoritism? Guys, I need to talk to you about something important. Come sit with me. They settled on either side of me on the couch, their faces immediately serious, with the intuitive understanding children have when adults shift into important conversation mode. Emma tucked her feet under her while Jake abandoned his Pokemon card to focus entirely on my words. Grandpa called me this week about a family trip for New Year. He's taking Uncle Tyler's family skiing in Colorado. Emma's eyes lit up. Are we going skiing too? I've never been skiing, but Madison told me it's like flying down a mountain. And you can go super fast if you're brave enough. The hope in her voice nearly broke my resolve. Baby Grandpa said he can't take you and Jake on this trip. He thinks it would be too difficult to manage everyone. The change in their expressions was immediate and devastating. Emma's smile faded as she processed my words, her 8-year-old mind working through the implications. Jake's confusion was more direct. Why can't we go? Did we do something bad? Nobody. You didn't do anything wrong. Sometimes adults make decisions that don't make sense, and this is one of those times. Emma, always more perceptive than her age suggested, asked the question I'd been dreading. Is it because Grandpa likes Madison and Austin better than us? The directness of her question hit me like a physical blow. I wanted to lie to protect her innocence, to maintain the fiction that all grandparents love all grandchildren equally. But Emma deserved the truth delivered with age-appropriate honesty. I think Grandpa sometimes has trouble showing his love equally to everyone. That doesn't mean you're not wonderful and deserving of love. It means he needs to work on being a better grandpa. Jake's lower lip trembled. But why doesn't he want to work on it? Madison said Grandpa is teaching her to play golf and they have special grandfather-granddaughter dates every month. How come he never wants to have dates with me? I hadn't known about the monthly golf lessons with Madison. Another example of the special relationship Dad cultivated with Tyler's children, while mine received scraps of attention during mandatory family gatherings. Maybe we could ask him to start having special dates with you too. I suggested, though, even as the words left my mouth. I knew Dad would find excuses to avoid such commitments. Emma shook her head, her wisdom beyond her years. Daddy, he won't. Remember when I asked him to come to my piano recital, and he said he was too busy, but then he went to Austin's soccer game the same day Mom showed me the pictures Uncle Tyler posted. My heart shattered. My children had been paying attention, cataloging every slight, every missed opportunity, every instance where they were deemed less important than their cousins. They'd been suffering in silence, trying to understand why their grandfather's love came with conditions they couldn't meet. You know what? I said, pulling them both into a hug that felt like a promise. Grandpa doesn't know what he's missing by not spending time with the two most amazing kids in the world. But just because he can't see how special you are doesn't mean we can't have our own amazing adventure. Jake perked up slightly. What kind of adventure? The kind where we make memories that are so incredible, we'll be talking about them for years. The kind where we do things we've only dreamed about. Emma studied my face with the intensity she inherited from Jessica. Are you planning something special for us? Maybe. Would you like me to plan something special? For the first time since our conversation began, both children smiled. Jake bounced on the couch. Yes. Can it be somewhere warm? I'm tired of wearing coats everywhere. And can it be somewhere with really good food? Emma added. Not just regular food, but like the fancy food we see on those cooking shows. Their requests were so simple, so pure, in their desire for warmth and good food and adventure. These were the children Dad considered too much trouble to include in family vacations. That night, after tucking them into bed, I sat in my kitchen making lists. Flight destinations, hotel options, activities that would create the kind of magical memories children treasure forever. I wasn't planning this trip out of spite or revenge. I was planning it because my children deserved to feel valued, chosen, and celebrated. I was planning it because they needed to know that someone considered them worth every penny, every effort, every moment of joy we could create together. The next morning, Emma appeared in my bedroom doorway at 6:30, still in her pajamas, with her hair twisted into the chaotic knots that only sleep can create. Daddy, I had a dream about our adventure. We were somewhere with really tall buildings and blue water and people who spoke different languages but were really nice to us. That sounds like an amazing dream, sweetheart. It didn't feel like a dream, though. It felt like a memory of something that was going to happen. Jake stumbled in behind her, rubbing his eyes. Are we really going somewhere special, Daddy? Or were we just talking about pretend adventures? I looked at my children, rumpled and sleepy and full of hope, despite their grandfather's rejection. Emma's dream of tall buildings and blue water had planted an idea that grew with every passing second. "Get dressed for school," I said. "When you come home today, we're going to plan the most incredible New Year adventure two kids have ever had." Their squeals of excitement echoed through the house as they raced to get ready. For the first time in days, I felt something other than anger and heartbreak. I felt purpose. While Emma and Jake were at school, I transformed my kitchen table into mission control for what would become the most important trip of our lives. Laptop open notebook filled with scribbled ideas and 3 cups of coffee, fueling my determination to create something extraordinary for my children. I started with modest research, maybe a long weekend in Orlando visiting theme parks and eating character breakfasts, perhaps a trip to San Diego with zoo visits and beach days, destinations that would create happy memories without breaking my teacher's salary budget. But then I remembered Emma's dream about tall buildings and blue water, and Jake's innocent request for somewhere warm with good food. I thought about Dad's casual dismissal of my children as too expensive to include, while simultaneously funding Tyler's family's luxury ski vacation. My children weren't too expensive, they were priceless. I opened my banking app with trembling fingers, expecting to see the usual modest balance that required careful budgeting and strategic timing of major purchases. What I found stopped me cold. My savings account showed a balance I didn't remember accumulating. The work bonus from last spring had been larger than I'd initially calculated automatically deposited, while I was focused on end-of-school year responsibilities. My modest investments in education sector stocks had performed better than expected over the past 6 months. The child support Jessica insisted on paying, despite our joint custody arrangement had been quietly building. For the first time in my adult life, I had enough money to do something spectacular. I opened a new browser window and searched for destinations that matched Emma's dream. Tall buildings, blue water, somewhere warm with incredible food and different languages. The search results filled my screen with images of Dubai's skyline, its pristine beaches, its reputation for luxury and hospitality. Dubai, a city that existed at the intersection of ancient culture and modern innovation. A place where children could ride camels in the desert and swim in rooftop pools overlooking skyscrapers. Where every meal could be an adventure and every day could hold experiences they'd never imagined possible. I spent the next 4 hours researching everything Dubai had to offer families. Desert safaris with falconry demonstrations and traditional Bedouin camps. The Dubai Aquarium with its walk-through tunnel and thousands of marine species. The Burj Khalifa observation deck offering views that stretched to the horizon. Gold souks, where children could learn about ancient trading routes while marveling at craftsmanship passed down through generations. The more I researched, the more perfect it became. This wasn't just a vacation. This was a statement. A declaration that my children deserved the finest experiences the world had to offer. Not because we were trying to prove anything to anyone, but because they were worthy of wonder and luxury and adventures beyond their wildest dreams. I called the resort concierge at the Atlantis Dubai, a hotel that looked like something from Emma's favorite fairy tales. The woman who answered spoke with the kind of warm professionalism that immediately put me at ease. "Good afternoon, Mr. Evan. How may I assist you in creating an unforgettable experience for your family?" "I'd like to book a New Year package for myself and my 2 children, ages 8 and 6. We want to experience everything Dubai has to offer." "Wonderful. Let me recommend our Family Paradise package. 5 days and 4 nights with accommodations in our family suite, access to Aquaventure Water Park Lost Chambers Aquarium, daily breakfast, 1 desert safari experience, and complimentary access to our children's club activities." The price she quoted was substantial, but not prohibitive given my newfound financial resources. More importantly, it represented exactly the kind of magical experience my children deserved. I'd also like to add the Burj Khalifa tour, a traditional Dow cruise and dining reservations at your most family-friendly signature restaurants. Absolutely. May I also suggest our photography package, professional photos throughout your stay to capture these precious memories with your children. Professional photos, evidence of joy and adventure and love that no one could deny or diminish. Yes, add that too. After confirming our booking and arranging travel details, I sat back in my kitchen chair feeling something I hadn't experienced in years, the pure satisfaction of providing abundantly for my children. Not because I had to prove anything to Dad or Tyler, but because Emma and Jake deserved to see the world through eyes filled with wonder. My phone rang, interrupting my planning. Tyler's name appeared on the screen. Hey, Evan, Dad told me about your conversation yesterday. Look, I know you're upset about the Aspen thing, but you're making this into a bigger deal than it needs to be. Tyler's casual tone immediately irritated me. A bigger deal than excluding my children from a family vacation. It's not excluding them. It's being practical about group dynamics and logistics. Emma and Jake are younger, they'd need more supervision. And honestly, skiing might be too advanced for their age group anyway. The condescension in his voice was unmistakable. Tyler had adopted Dad's perspective, completely viewing my children through the same lens of inconvenience and inadequacy. Tyler, your son, Austin, is 9. Jake is 6. That's a 3-year difference. Not a generational gap. And Emma's 8, just 2 years younger than Madison. The age argument doesn't hold water. It's not just about age, Evan. It's about maturity levels and how well kids travel. Madison and Austin have been on multiple family trips. They know how to behave in nice restaurants and hotels. Your kids are still learning those skills. I felt my temper flare at his implication that my children were somehow less civilized than his. My children know how to behave in any setting, Tyler. The problem isn't their maturity. The problem is Dad's favoritism and your willingness to benefit from it. That's not fair. Dad loves all his grandchildren equally. Does he? When's the last time he took Emma and Jake somewhere special without the rest of the family? When's the last time he showed up to one of their events? When's the last time he gave them the same quality of gift he gives Madison and Austin? Tyler's silence stretched long enough to answer my questions. He knew I was right, but admitting it would require acknowledging his complicity in a system that benefited his family at the expense of mine. Look, maybe after the holidays we can plan something that includes everyone. Maybe isn't good enough anymore, Tyler. My children deserve better than maybes and excuses. After hanging up, I realized Tyler's call had only strengthened my resolve. His casual dismissal of my concerns, his willingness to rationalize Dad's favoritism, and his condescending attitude toward Emma and Jake proved that this pattern extended beyond just Dad. The entire family had accepted a hierarchy where Tyler's children occupied the top tier while mine existed as afterthoughts. I pulled up the Dubai booking confirmation on my laptop screen and smiled. In 6 days, Emma and Jake would be riding camels through golden sand dunes, swimming in pools that seemed to touch the sky, and discovering that the world was full of people eager to celebrate their curiosity and joy. They would learn that their worth wasn't determined by their grandfather's ability to love them equally. They would discover that adventure and luxury and incredible experiences weren't reserved for other people's children. They would understand, perhaps for the first time in their lives, what it felt like to be chosen, celebrated, and treasured without condition or comparison. That evening, when they returned from school bursting with stories about their day, I gathered them in the living room for the most important announcement of their young lives. Remember how we talked about planning an amazing adventure? Emma nodded eagerly. Did you pick somewhere? I did. Pack your warmest weather clothes and your sense of adventure. We're going to Dubai. The silence that followed lasted exactly 3 seconds before both children erupted in questions and excitement that filled our house with the kind of joy Dad would never understand. The Emirates flight from Dallas to Dubai was Emma and Jake's first international journey, and their excitement was infectious enough to charm even the most seasoned business travelers around us. Emma pressed her nose against the window during takeoff, narrating every cloud formation and landscape change for Jake, who was busy documenting the airplane meal in a travel journal I'd bought him for the trip. "Daddy, look how they folded the napkins into little swans." Jake marveled carefully, sketching the elegant presentation in his notebook. "Do you think they do this for every passenger or just for kids?" "They do it for everyone, buddy. This airline believes every passenger deserves to feel special." Emma looked up from her window observation post. "Even adults who aren't traveling with kids, especially adults who aren't traveling with kids, sometimes grown-ups forget how to notice beautiful small details, so the airline helps remind them." The 14-hour flight passed surprisingly quickly with the children, alternating between naps, games, and animated conversations with our flight attendants who seemed genuinely delighted by their enthusiasm. By the time we landed in Dubai, Emma and Jake were convinced they were world-class international travelers. The first glimpse of Dubai's skyline from our taxi window left all three of us speechless. The city rose from the desert like something from a science fiction movie glass, and steel towers reaching toward a sky so blue it seemed artificial. Jake's journal remained forgotten in his lap as he stared through the window, while Emma whispered, "Wow," repeatedly under her breath. The Atlantis resort exceeded even my most optimistic expectations. Our family suite overlooked the Arabian Gulf, with floor-to-ceiling windows that transformed our room into an aquarium of light and water. Emma claimed the window seat, immediately announcing her intention to watch every sunset from that exact spot. "Daddy, this doesn't feel real," she said as we unpacked our suitcases. "It's like we're staying inside a fairy tale." Jake discovered that our bathroom had a separate tub and shower, both larger than his bedroom at home. "Can I take a bath every single day we're here? And use those little bottles that smell like flowers?" "You can take 2 baths a day if you want. This is your vacation, and the only rule is that we have as much fun as possible." Our first full day began with breakfast at Kaleidoscope, the resort's international buffet that stretched across what seemed like half an acre of culinary options. Emma approached the experience like a research project, sampling small portions of foods she'd never encountered, while Jake gravitated toward the fresh fruit station with the focus of a scientist. "Daddy, this orange juice tastes different from home," Jake observed, holding his glass up to examine the pulp content. "It's sweeter and more orangey." Our server, a woman named Amara from the Philippines, crouched down to Jake's eye level. "That's because our oranges are freshly squeezed every morning from fruit that grows in groves not far from here. The sunshine here makes them extra sweet." Emma appeared at Jake's elbow, carrying a plate of pastries that looked too beautiful to eat. "The chef told me these are made with rose water and honey, and that people have been making them for hundreds of years. He said I could watch him make some later if I wanted." Amara's smile encompassed both children. "Would you like me to arrange a kitchen tour for this afternoon? Our pastry chef loves showing children how he creates his masterpieces." The children's unanimous yes launched what became the first of many spontaneous adventures throughout our stay. The kitchen tour revealed industrial mixers, large enough for Emma to stand inside walk-in freezers that felt like winter wonderlands, and a pastry chef named Hassan, who treated my children like visiting dignitaries. Hassan demonstrated the precise technique for folding phyllo dough, explained the difference between various types of honey, and allowed Emma and Jake to help create a batch of baklava that would be served at dinner that evening. "Your children have natural instincts for cooking," Hassan told me, as we watched Emma carefully brush melted butter between delicate pastry layers. "They listen with their whole bodies and ask excellent questions." That afternoon's desert safari adventure transported us to a landscape that seemed designed by someone with an unlimited imagination and a deep love of golden beauty. Our guide Omar drove us through sand dunes that shifted and changed like frozen ocean waves, the 4-wheel drive vehicle dancing across terrain that looked like another planet. Emma and Jake's first camel ride produced squeals of delight that echoed across the desert. Emma named her camel Duchess, and insisted on learning the proper way to communicate with her through gentle clicking sounds. Jake's camel, whom he christened Captain, because of his dignified bearing, seemed to sense my son's initial nervousness and moved with extra gentleness. The traditional Bedouin camp experience that evening introduced my children to falconry, henna, painting, and performances that had been passed down through generations of desert dwellers. Emma received intricate henna designs on both hands from an artist who told her stories about the symbolic meanings of different patterns. Jake watched a falcon demonstration with the intensity of someone memorizing every detail for future reference. "Daddy, did you know falcons can see 8 times better than humans?" Jake informed me during dinner, his notebook balanced on his lap as he sketched the birds from memory. "And they can fly over 200 miles per hour when they're hunting." Emma studied her henna-decorated hands in the firelight. "The lady who did my designs said they represent protection and good fortune. She said I should make a wish while the henna dries, and if I believe hard enough, the wish will come true." "What did you wish for?" I asked. "I can't tell you, or it won't come true. But it's a really good wish about our family." The next day's visit to the Burj Khalifa observation deck provided the most profound moment of our entire trip. As we rode the elevator to the 148th floor, Emma and Jake pressed against the windows watching Dubai shrink below us with expressions of pure wonder. From the observation deck, the world spread out beneath us like a living map. Emma identified the Palm Jumeirah, the Dubai Marina, and the endless expanse of desert meeting ocean that surrounded the city. Jake used the high-powered telescopes to examine details of boats in the marina and cars moving along the highways like toys. "Daddy, look how small everything looks from up here," Emma said, her voice filled with philosophical observation. "All those cars and buildings and people, but from this high up, everything seems peaceful and organized." Jake abandoned his telescope to join us at the floor-to-ceiling windows. "It makes me feel like I'm flying, like I could step outside and soar above all those clouds." As we stood together looking out over a city that existed because people had decided to build something magnificent in an impossible place, Emma made an observation that would stay with me forever. "This is the best day of my whole life, Daddy. Not because of the tall building or the fancy hotel or the expensive restaurants. It's the best day because we're together and nobody told us we couldn't come or that we weren't good enough to be here." Jake nodded solemnly. "I'm glad Grandpa didn't invite us to go skiing. If he had, we wouldn't be here having the most amazing adventure ever." Their words hit me with unexpected force. My children hadn't just recovered from their grandfather's rejection. They had transcended it. They had discovered their own worth through experiences that had nothing to do with family hierarchy or conditional love. That evening, as we dined at Nobu with views of the Dubai Fountain's choreographed water shows, I pulled out my phone to document our happiness, not for social media or to prove anything to anyone, but to capture the pure joy radiating from my children's faces. Emma and Jake posed by the fountain, their smiles so genuine and unguarded that looking at the photos later would make my heart ache with gratitude. They had learned something in Dubai that no amount of grandfather's favoritism could have taught them. They had learned that they were worthy of wonder, deserving of beauty, and capable of creating their own magical experiences, regardless of who chose to exclude them from theirs. As I uploaded select photos to my social media accounts, I crafted captions that told our story without mentioning Dad's rejection, making memories with the most important people in my life. Sometimes the best family adventures happen when you least expect them. Teaching my children that the world is full of people who will celebrate their curiosity and joy. I had no idea those innocent posts would trigger a phone call that would change our family dynamics forever. The call came at 7:30 in the morning Dubai time, while Emma and Jake were still sleeping in the resort's impossibly comfortable beds, and I was enjoying coffee on our suite's balcony, watching the sunrise paint the Arabian Gulf in shades of gold and rose. Dad's voice erupted from my phone with a fury I hadn't heard since I was 12 years old and accidentally broke his favorite fishing rod. "What the hell do you think you're doing, Evan?" I held the phone away from my ear, glancing back at the bedroom to make sure his shouting hadn't woken the children. "Good morning to you too, Dad. I'm having coffee and watching the sunrise over the Persian Gulf. What's going on?" "Don't play innocent with me. I've seen your social media posts. Dubai. Really? You take your kids to one of the most expensive destinations in the world and plaster it all over Facebook while we're trying to enjoy our family vacation." The irony of his statement was so profound I almost laughed. "I thought you said Emma and Jake were too expensive to include in family vacations. Apparently, I found a solution to that problem." "This is about revenge, isn't it? You couldn't handle being left out of one trip, so you decided to show off and make us look bad." "Dad, this has nothing to do with your trip to Aspen. This is about showing my children that they're worth celebrating. By throwing money around like you're some kind of millionaire. Do you have any idea how this makes our family look?" People are asking questions, Evan. Questions about why Emma and Jake aren't with us. Questions about what's wrong with our family dynamics. I sat forward in my chair, suddenly understanding the true source of his anger. "Who's asking questions?" "Your Aunt Margaret called yesterday asking why the kids weren't skiing with us. Your mother's bridge club has seen your posts, and they're wondering why we didn't all travel together. My golf buddies are commenting on how incredible your vacation looks and asking why I'm not there with my grandchildren." The picture became crystal clear. Dad wasn't angry because I'd taken Emma and Jake to Dubai. He was angry because his carefully constructed narrative about our family hierarchy was being challenged by people whose opinions mattered to him. "So, let me understand this correctly," I said, keeping my voice calm despite the rage building in my chest. "You're upset because people are noticing that you excluded your grandchildren from a family vacation. I'm upset because you're deliberately trying to embarrass me and make me look like a bad grandfather." "Dad, I didn't make you look like anything. Your choices made you look exactly like what you are." Tyler's voice joined the conversation, and I realized Dad had called me on speakerphone from their Aspen hotel room. "Evan, this is ridiculous. You're acting like a child who didn't get invited to a birthday party." "Tyler, stay out of this. This is between Dad and me." "No, it's not. Your little publicity stunt is affecting our whole family." "Sarah's been fielding calls from her relatives asking why you're not here." "Madison's confused about why her cousins are in Dubai instead of skiing with us." "You're creating problems for everyone." I stood up from my chair and walked to the balcony railing, looking down at the pristine pools where early morning swimmers were beginning their laps. "Let me ask you something, Tyler. How did you explain to Madison and Austin that Emma and Jake weren't coming to Aspen?" Silence stretched across the phone line before Tyler answered. "We told them that you had other plans." Other plans that I made after being told my children were too expensive to include. "That's not how we explained it to the kids." "No, I'm sure you sanitized it for their consumption. But Tyler, how do you think Emma and Jake felt when they learned they were excluded from a family trip because their grandfather considered them burdens?" Dad's voice returned angrier than before. "I never called them burdens. You said they were too expensive. You said they'd slow everyone down. You said they were less manageable than Tyler's kids. Dad, what would you call that besides treating them like burdens?" I was being practical about group dynamics and logistics. "You were being cruel to children who worship you despite your consistent favoritism toward Tyler's family." Another voice joined the call, and I realized Mom had been listening to the entire conversation. "Evan, honey, you're misunderstanding your father's intentions." "Mom, I'm not misunderstanding anything. I'm seeing Dad's intentions clearly for the first time in my life. He loves all his grandchildren equally." "Does he, Mom? When's the last time Dad attended one of Emma's piano recitals? When's the last time he showed up to Jake's school events? When's the last time he took my children anywhere special without Tyler's family tagging along?" Mom's silence answered my questions more definitively than words could have. "Your father is on a fixed income, Evan. He can't afford to take everyone on expensive trips." "Then why is he paying for Tyler's family's entire vacation while claiming my kids are too expensive?" "That's different. How is it different, Mom? Please explain to me how paying for 4 people is financially possible, while paying for 6 people is prohibitively expensive. Dad's voice returned harder and colder than before. Because Tyler's family appreciates what I do for them without making demands or creating drama. Because Tyler doesn't question every decision I make or accuse me of favoritism every time things don't go his way. The admission hung in the air like poisonous gas. Dad had just confirmed that his financial generosity was conditional on gratitude and compliance. Tyler's family received better treatment because they never challenged the hierarchy, never questioned the favoritism, never demanded equal treatment for their children. So love and financial support in our family come with conditions now. Everything in life comes with conditions, Evan. Tyler understands that. His children are well behaved because Tyler and Sarah set clear expectations and follow through with consequences. Tyler shows respect for family decisions, even when he might personally disagree. Tyler shows respect for family decisions that benefit him while staying silent about family decisions that harm my children. Emma's voice called from inside the suite. Daddy, are you on the balcony? I lowered my voice. I need to go. My children are waking up, and I'd like to focus on making their day magical instead of defending their worth to people who should love them unconditionally. Don't hang up on me, Evan. We need to finish this conversation. No, Dad, we don't. This conversation was finished the moment you decided my children weren't worth including in your family vacation. Everything that's happened since then is just consequences. You can't exclude us from family activities just because you're angry about one decision. The statement was so absurd I couldn't help laughing. Dad, did you just say that I can't exclude you from family activities? Do you hear the irony in that statement? Tyler's voice cut in again. Evan, this is getting out of hand. When we get back from Aspen, we need to sit down and work this out like adults. Tyler, there's nothing to work out. You and Dad have made your priorities clear. I've simply adjusted my expectations accordingly. Emma appeared in the balcony doorway wearing her pajamas and the kind of bedhead that only children can achieve. Daddy, who are you talking to? You sound upset. Just some people from home, sweetheart. Nothing important. Are you ready for breakfast and another adventure? Her smile banished every ounce of anger Dad and Tyler had stirred up. I'm ready for everything. Jake's still sleeping, but I want to plan what we're doing today. Dad, I said into the phone, I'm going to spend the day making my children feel loved, valued, and celebrated. You should try it sometime. I hung up without waiting for a response and turned my full attention to Emma, who was studying the Dubai skyline with the intensity of someone memorizing every detail. Is everything okay, Daddy? Everything is perfect, baby girl. Absolutely perfect. And standing on that balcony in Dubai, watching the sun climb higher over a city built on impossible dreams, with my daughter planning our day's adventures, and my son sleeping peacefully in a bed big enough for 3 people, everything truly was perfect. Dad's anger couldn't diminish the joy Emma and Jake had discovered in this magical place. Tyler's disapproval couldn't erase the confidence my children had gained from being chosen, celebrated, and treasured. They had learned their worth in a city of gold and glass, surrounded by people who delighted in their curiosity and wonder. No amount of family dysfunction could take that knowledge away from them. As Emma and I planned our day over room service breakfast, while Jake slowly woke up, I realized something profound had shifted during that phone call. I was no longer fighting for Dad's approval or Tyler's acknowledgement of fairness. I was simply choosing to protect my children from people who couldn't see their value. And that choice, I was beginning to understand, would change everything. The flight home from Dubai was bittersweet, filled with Emma and Jake's animated recounting of every magical moment we'd shared. Emma had filled her journal with sketches of camels, skyscrapers, and fountains, while Jake's notebook overflowed with facts about Falcon's Arabic culture and the engineering marvels that made Dubai possible. "Daddy, when people ask us about our New Year vacation, what should we tell them?" Emma asked as our plane crossed over European airspace. "Tell them the truth, that we had the most incredible adventure together and made memories we'll treasure forever." Jake looked up from his collection of Dubai souvenirs. "Will Grandpa ask us about it?" The question lingered in the recycled airplane air as I considered how to answer. Part of me hoped Dad would show genuine interest in his grandchildren's experiences and joy. Another part of me knew that his pride might prevent him from acknowledging the success of a trip he'd inadvertently inspired through his rejection. "If he asks, you can tell him anything you want to tell him, buddy. This was your adventure and you get to decide how much you want to share." We landed in Dallas to a winter storm that made Dubai's warmth seem like a distant dream. But Emma and Jake's enthusiasm remained undimmed. They chattered nonstop during the drive home about favorite moments, best meals, and plans for their next international adventure. My phone had accumulated dozens of missed calls and text messages during our flight, a digital avalanche of family reactions to our Dubai documentation. Most were positive cousin Lisa, commenting on how happy the kids looked, Uncle Robert asking for travel recommendations, family friends expressing amazement at our adventure photos. But mixed among the celebrations were messages that revealed the deeper impact of our trip on family dynamics. Aunt Margaret had texted, "Saw your Dubai pictures. The kids look absolutely radiant. Call me when you get home." My cousin David wrote, "Those photos of Emma and Jake are incredible. They look like they're having the time of their lives. When did you become the fun parent? Balarali. PM," followed by several laughing emojis. Even Jessica had sent a message, "The kids look so happy and confident in these pictures. Whatever you planned, it was exactly what they needed. Thank you for showing them how much they're worth." The most surprising message came from Sarah Tyler's wife. "The kids' vacation looks amazing. Madison keeps asking when she can go to Dubai too. We need to talk when you have time." But the message that stopped me cold came from Mom. "Evan, your father wants to talk when you're ready. The past few days have been difficult for him. Please call when you can." I tucked the children into their own beds that night, listening to their sleepy recounting of favorite Dubai moments. Emma drifted off while describing the taste of fresh dates at the market, while Jake fell asleep clutching a small camel figurine Omar had given him during the desert safari. I called Mom the next morning after the kids left for school, their backpacks heavy with Dubai souvenirs, to show their classmates. "Evan, honey, thank you for calling. Your father has been very quiet since you hung up on him in Dubai." "I didn't hang up on him, Mom. I ended a conversation that wasn't productive. He's been thinking about what you said, about the children feeling excluded, and about his treatment of Emma and Jake compared to Madison and Austin." I waited knowing Mom had more to say. "Your Aunt Margaret called yesterday with questions about why the kids weren't in Aspen. Then your Uncle Robert called asking about Emma's piano recitals and Jake's school events that your father might have missed. Suddenly, everyone in the family is paying attention to things your father thought no one noticed. The family accountability I'd never expected was apparently emerging organically as relatives connected our Dubai trip with Dad's exclusion patterns. What does Dad want to talk about? He wants to apologize, Evan. Really apologize, not just smooth things over. But he's struggling with how to approach Emma and Jake after disappointing them so badly. 3 days later, Dad showed up at my front door without warning, looking older and more uncertain than I'd ever seen him. Tyler stood beside him, both men carrying expressions of uncomfortable determination. "Can we come in?" Dad asked quietly. "We need to talk, and we need to make some things right." Emma and Jake were in the living room building an elaborate Lego city when Dad and Tyler entered. The children looked up with polite curiosity, their natural excitement around visitors tempered by recent disappointments. "Hi, Grandpa," Emma said with careful politeness. "Hi, Uncle Tyler." Jake waved, but remained focused on his Lego construction project, a detailed recreation of Dubai's skyline, complete with a miniature Burj Khalifa. Dad stood in the center of my living room, looking profoundly uncomfortable, a man unaccustomed to acknowledging mistakes or asking forgiveness. Emma, Jake, I owe you both an apology. He began, his voice rougher than usual. I made a mistake about the ski trip. I made a lot of mistakes, actually, and I hurt your feelings when I should have been making you feel special and loved. Emma looked up from her Legos with the directness only children possess. Why did you tell Daddy we couldn't come skiing because we were too expensive? The question hit Dad like a physical blow. Tyler shifted uncomfortably beside him. Because I was thinking about the wrong things, sweetheart. I was thinking about logistics and complications instead of thinking about how much I love you and how much fun we could have together. Jake abandoned his Lego project entirely. Did you see our pictures from Dubai? We rode camels and swam in pools on top of buildings and ate food from places I never heard of before. I did see your pictures. You both looked incredibly happy, and I realized that I should have been the one creating those memories with you. Emma studied Dad's face with the intensity she brought to everything important. Are you sorry because you hurt our feelings, or because other people found out you hurt our feelings? The question revealed Emma's wisdom and cut straight to the heart of Dad's motivation. Tyler looked at his feet while Dad struggled to answer honestly. I'm sorry because I hurt your feelings, Emma. I'm sorry because I've been a better grandfather to your cousins than I've been to you and Jake, and that was wrong. I'm sorry because your daddy had to take you halfway around the world to show you how special you are when I should have been showing you that every single day. Jake approached Dad cautiously. Grandpa, do you want to see the journal I kept in Dubai? I wrote down everything we did and drew pictures of the best parts. Dad knelt down to Jake's level, accepting the notebook with hands that trembled slightly. As he turned through pages of 6-year-old observations and sketches, his eyes filled with tears. Jake, this is incredible. Look at all the things you learned and experienced. You documented your adventure like a real traveler. Emma joined them carrying her own journal. I kept one too, Grandpa, and I brought you something from the gold market in Dubai. She handed Dad a small wrapped package containing a simple gold bracelet with his name engraved in both English and Arabic. The man at the shop said it would help you remember that family love should be like gold, precious and equal for everyone. Dad's composure cracked completely as he examined the bracelet. Emma, this is the most thoughtful gift anyone has ever given me. Tyler cleared his throat. Dad, maybe we should talk about how to make sure this doesn't happen again. I looked at my brother, seeing something approaching humility in his expression. Madison asked me why Emma and Jake went to Dubai instead of skiing with us. Tyler continued. When I tried to explain, I realized our explanation didn't make sense to her. She said it seemed unfair that her cousins were excluded from family trips. Emma and Jake listened to this adult conversation with the seriousness children bring to discussions about fairness and family dynamics. What do you think we should do differently? I asked, genuinely curious about their proposals. Dad struggled to his feet, still clutching both children's journals. I think we should plan family activities that include everyone equally. I think I should start attending Emma's recitals and Jake's school events. I think I should spend individual time with each grandchild, so they all feel special and valued. Jake nodded solemnly. That sounds fair, Grandpa. And, Dad continued, I think I should ask Emma and Jake to help me plan our next family adventure. Maybe they can teach me about places they'd like to visit and things they'd like to learn. Emma's eyes lit up. Could we plan a trip that has cultural learning and adventure activities? We could plan whatever you want, sweetheart. This time you and Jake get to be the vacation planners. Over the following months, Dad made good on his promises with a consistency that surprised everyone. He attended Emma's spring piano recital, cheering so loudly during her performance that she giggled in the middle of her piece. He showed up to Jake's science fair project presentation about renewable energy, asking detailed questions that demonstrated genuine interest in his grandson's research. Most importantly, he began planning monthly individual outings with each grandchild. Emma's first grandfather-granddaughter date involved visiting a local art museum and learning about ancient civilizations. Jake's special day included a trip to the Natural Science Museum where they explored exhibits about desert wildlife and geology. The family skiing trip was rescheduled for the following winter, with Dad insisting that Emma and Jake serve as co-planners, alongside Madison and Austin. When Emma suggested they add a cultural component to their Colorado visit, Dad researched Native American heritage sites near their resort. When Jake expressed interest in snow science, Dad arranged for a meteorologist to explain snowflake formation during their stay. Tyler's transformation was quieter but equally significant. He began asking about Emma and Jake's activities during family gatherings, remembering details about their interests and achievements. Sarah started including my children in birthday parties and play dates that had previously been limited to Madison and Austin's friend groups. The Dubai photo albums became family treasures not because they represented revenge or defiance, but because they captured the moment when Emma and Jake discovered their inherent worth. The images of their joy and confidence in that magical city served as reminders that children deserve to be celebrated, chosen, and treasured, without condition. 6 months after our Dubai adventure, Emma made an observation that summarized our family's transformation perfectly. "Daddy, I'm glad Grandpa didn't invite us to go skiing last year." "Why is that, sweetheart?" "Because if we had gone skiing, we wouldn't have gone to Dubai. And if we hadn't gone to Dubai, Grandpa might never have learned how to love all his grandchildren the same amount." Jake nodded wisely. Plus, now we get to help plan family trips, and next time we're going somewhere that has both mountains and deserts. As I tucked them into bed that night, I realized that our Dubai adventure had accomplished something more profound than proving their worth to Dad or Tyler. It had taught Emma and Jake that their value wasn't dependent on other people's ability to recognize it. They had learned to advocate for themselves, to expect equal treatment, and to create their own happiness when others failed them. Most importantly, they had learned that love should never come with conditions, comparisons, or hierarchies. And watching Dad build genuine relationships with my children, seeing Tyler include them naturally in family activities, and witnessing the easy confidence Emma and Jake now carried themselves, I understood that sometimes the greatest gift you can give your children is teaching them they deserve better. Even if that lesson requires flying them halfway around the world to prove it. Have you ever had to choose between keeping family peace and protecting your children's sense of worth? What would you have done in my situation when faced with such obvious favoritism? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and share it with someone who might need to hear about the power of choosing your children's well-being over family expectations. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories about finding strength in difficult family situations, and remember that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is show someone exactly what they're missing. Thank you for listening to our journey, and I hope your own family adventures are filled with equal love, endless possibilities, and the kind of joy that comes from being truly seen and valued.